Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. All right, so I titled it, Is September, will September be a big correction month? Well, honest answer, nobody really knows, but we could look at the charts and kind of see what are they telling us. I think there's positives, there's negatives, and I think it's just too early to tell. We know that prices ran up off of this low, and maybe it shouldn't have done that. Well, it did it. So who am I to say it shouldn't have done that? But meaning we had this move down and this corrective price action through the beginning of August. And typically maybe it would have made a lower low down to here, which would have set up a better buying opportunity. But it held this low. And to some extent, you can say it's complacency, they're over anxious to get in. And it ran up into resistance. We're looking at the cues here, and it came up into the area of this unfilled gap. And so we had that gap up and reversal at the end of last week, and the S&Ps look like that. So now there's some follow through. We can see overnight here where my cursor was gapping down below the low of that red bar on the daily chart, and it's recovered a bit. We'll see where it's going to be in the next 20-25 minutes. But right now it's near the bottom of that. So an initial gap down after this run up into resistance. Sellers are beginning to take control here. And on the weekly chart, what we had in many instances that prices had pulled back, and they held. This 20 MA is about the same as the 100 MA on the daily, which I don't have on here, but just so you know that. So moving averages become focal points on indices, and you can see the support there, the overlapping bars. There's no pivots because the trend was so strong at that time. So the market, from this low down here, especially in the technology, has been really strong, and kind of a deep pullback, which you can see more clearly on the daily chart. So now, as you all know, the market has been kind of a victim in a sense of news. And is this bullish, or is this leading us to believe the Fed is done? Or are they going to increase interest rates? And it's like a schizo situation, because on this day, the economic number, some jobs number, which was the gap up on the NVIDIA, and then it wasn't NVIDIA that drove the market down, it was the economic number, right? And then as prices come up here on this day, we had the JOLT report, and that was like, oh, that's good number. And, markets rallied like crazy. The Fed is going to be done. And then on this day, we closed the void, and there was the jobs report, and the numbers were kind of supportive of the JOLTS number, and sellers took control. So the essence of what we're dealing with right now is a trading range. And what should we be looking for to kind of really tell us, what's going to happen here? In reality, right now, we don't know. The weekly chart says it's going to go up. It had this pullback. Buyers took control. The question is, will it take out the high? That is in an uptrend. And so the next area of resistance is this 400, which it almost touched here. So when you get an almost touch, right, where it comes up here, one of the ways that I interpret that is, people sometimes get confused by this term absorbing supply, and it's just a way of communicating what I see the charts are doing. And anytime prices come up to a resistance area, there's going to be sellers there, right? A pivot high is supply, and a pivot low is demand. And as prices come up to that area of supply or resistance, it's going to have an effect of, hey, I'm trying to push through that resistance, that wall. Can I weaken it? And so this term of absorbing supply is a way of saying, hey, it touched this. So it's not the first time it's touching it. So it has weakened it a bit, what does that tell me? It just creates part of a thought process, which is what I call every module in a course, thought building lessons. That's how we view technical analysis. As we look at the charts, there are pictures that produce thoughts and beliefs. So now, being in an uptrend, could it get through there? Well, it's got better chances of getting through there the second time around than on the first time. When you think about it that way, it's really just common sense. But when you start putting indicators and fib lines and all of that on there, common sense goes out the window. So now, what do we need to see? Well, we need to see bullish price action up here, because it's going to do one of two things. As prices come up to resistance, sellers are up there. That's where your supply is. And it's either going to collapse back down again, and it may get a little higher and jiggle around, or it may do something like this. Right? This is a weekly chart. It may take a little while, but the point is, this is the type of a picture that we would look at and notice the bottoming tail bar here that breaks the lows and springs back up again. If we were to get this type of a picture up here, which would take several weeks, I'm not saying it's going to take several weeks, but on the daily chart, if we were to get that type of a picture, it would be supportive of a belief that prices could then go higher, regardless of what month it is. Now, being objective, the other part of the thought process and what it could do is, and Jose is asking me about a head and shoulders formation. Well, usually, Jose, when we talk about classic price patterns and what do those patterns look like that guide us as to, are they actually that? Right? So you say head and shoulders pattern. And while ultimately this sideways trading range that this is in, we could say, hey, it's not a textbook one, but could it eventually come back to be a head and shoulders pattern? Well, what I would point out here is that just from a historical or textbook point of view, a head and shoulders pattern has a lower shoulder than the left side, not a higher one. And think about what that means. The fact that this rallied as it did, the depth of retracement into this area displays strength. Head and shoulders patterns play out as they're actually breakout failures and then have a lower right shoulder, a smaller retracement, and then break through the neckline and then drive lower. So the depth of this move suggests no, not a head and shoulders pattern. What could it be from a bearish point of view that isn't there right now? As we look at the weekly time frame, what we would see is, right, you got a momentum move, shallow retracement, which says buyers are a little bit too overzealous after a run like that. And that's why on the daily chart, I was saying it would have been better if it had pulled back further. What this could produce is what we call an M top, which sometimes even takes out the prior high and then drives prices down. So we don't know right now. We've got some information that says it could be, but the strength of this move suggests that probably maybe not. It depends on what it all does here. Now, so just take that in mind, and you're just going to tell you, we're going to just see what's going to happen in the next few weeks. More economic reports are going to have an effect on what everybody thinks on a day-to-day basis and so on. Now, as we look at some other information here, this move in interest rates last week on Friday was large enough to think that could have drove these S&Ps lower, and they didn't. And I thought, well, that's showing some relative strength, even the fact that this is up at resistance. We've got the 13-week flip down in a relatively significant way, which is supporting the idea that maybe the Fed isn't going to do anything. Yet some news could come out that change flips things around. So we're in this period of uncertainty. The dollar's been going up, which hasn't been a positive for the markets last year and part of this year. And last week, this is a weekly chart, you've got this correction bar, which is really a continuation pattern. But will it continue? So keeping an eye on the dollar this week is going to tell us some valuable information. You got a breakout in oil. That's one of the negatives. It's inflation. Got the volatility index down at support. It's starting to flip up. On the bullish side, look at this AD line that pegged well over plus 1,500 on this rally. That shows that there was good breadth or a broader advance. So that's a positive. So as we go into September, I wouldn't count on it being so negative just yet. We need to actually see how this plays out. And then as we get into that, we'll know more and we'll have some thoughts about October, which is feared more because that's usually the culmination of the pain that comes in September. All right. You'll absorb that over the coming days. SPY, same situation, gap down below Friday's low, pop back up again. It's trading in the bottom of the range. There's resistance up here. The upside should be limited. And I think the downside will be limited until we see tomorrow. There's some economic numbers. So I wouldn't expect too much movement out of today's trading. So again, down here, there's no support below here. Little to no support. That's what strong moves create. Avoid no support. Any corrective price action in the coming week ideally would hold around the 50 MA and this minor support level. So, but we'll see. The upside should be limited to somewhere up here for now. It's already run pretty far. All right. So now we go to S. Well, let's just look at the futures, get a little bit of a different point of view, and just consolidating, going nowhere at this pivot high. So far, we can call it bullish price action after a run up. Not a big deal. Right? Held at the prior pivot, little trading range going on here. And here you can see the void below. SPX. Now, those are the strikes last I looked. I don't like calls, right above a prior bar's high. Gapping down below today's low isn't all that significant, so that isn't a no-brainer. Is this one a no-brainer? I don't think it's a no-brainer because there's a void below and it's gapping down here. If you want to play these today, I would wait a little while and see what plays out in the first 10 minutes or so to see which way prices might go. But I don't think either one of these. This one is probably more likely since buyers are in control, but you've got this void. Buyers aren't going to give this up after that move up, not without some kind of significant news. And there's nothing on the calendar today, but who knows who opens their mouth at whatever time. So keep that in mind. Looking at other markets, you can see the little rollover in the Qs there, sitting on support. We've got nothing here. The strength of this move up suggests don't short it unless you're, possibly as a day trade if something should set up. It's certainly not as a swing trade because of the strength of the move up. What we want to look for is some kind of continuation pattern, something like what I showed you in the dollar, a bottoming tail bar. Well, you can't see it here because it's not 24 hours, but you get the point. A bottoming tail bar that takes out the lows. And, the dollar is up here this morning. So, markets feeling the pressure of that a little bit. Interest rates up a little bit. That's a negative, but it's at resistance. I think this is going to be a key factor to keep an eye on the transports, which we don't get pre-market data. But I think if the transports can edge up above this, that's a positive. If they come down here, well, that's support. You got this red bar. How much can they possibly ignore this red bar? So this is something to keep an eye on, setting an alert under these lows down here to see if the transports hold on to this level. So one of the things that you find is that when things are out of sync and you're looking for clues, you start looking at more and more stuff for what might reveal what's going to guide you. So, and that's what, we start looking at lots of stuff like that now here. So, been a wild ride for these Bitcoins, lows bringing back up, right back down again. This is just stay the hell away. See what it does here at support. There'll be buyers down there in transports, not transports, the Dow, running up into resistance, into minor resistance. It got rejected early in the week, an inside day, plenty of overhead congestion, but the weekly chart, look at this big bottom, and it broke out, pulled back the support. Can it go sideways here for a little while? Can we get a correction bar as explained? We've yet to see what it's going to do. So, see what credit spreads, there are to play out, stocks that are on their own page. There's still plenty of them out there. But remember, we're talking about the broader markets here, which will have an effect on most other instruments, equities. But if the markets aren't doing very much, those stocks that are doing well will probably continue to do well, and so on. If the market rallies, they'll do even better. If it falls, buyers will pull back and be a lot more cautious. So there you have it. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Hope everyone had a good long weekend. A short week here. So for option sellers, we have one less day of gap risk. Don't have many earnings, but have a big watch list. Market popped a little this morning on Fed guys talk. And I think there's a bunch of people talking today or this week, Fed. So we're probably going to get these stupid moves. It's, the market's always fixated on something. And we're back to this nonsense. I had RCL alarm go off. This is a short watch, big topping pattern, price void. This ideally 30-minute low with market weakness. Holly here, bottom right, I saw moving here, and it's now moving more. It's kind of a bull rectangle. It started with this igniting gap and bar. Kind of a 1, 2, 3 on the weekly, even though that's a little higher than the prior week's high, but that's bullish. I had one earnings stock here, BRC, gapping up a bit. Well, it's gapping up a lot, actually. It's gapping too big, so no interest. Wow, Greg, remember this Airbnb I liked last week? A retest, 1, 2, 3. Wow, that's a big gap. And that's getting added. There's a lot of changes to indexes here, people getting kicked out and added. So this is the beneficiary of getting added. I think the S&P 500. But it also had a little bad news. I saw a headline that New York City, I guess, thinking of banning short-term rentals, but whatever the case, nice buy setup on the week. And there's a lot of setups like this, different levels of retracements, but bullish turn with a weekly buy setup. So we were pretty aggressive last week on the long side. had a good week. Roll, asking about target short. Yeah, I like it. It's a sell setup. Now it's kind of started from a bullish reversal here, a bear sandwich. So I'm not sure about it making a new low, but nevertheless, it goes to 122, 123. Nothing wrong with that for a 1 to 3 day swing trade. I actually found in my weekend scanning many more long ideas than short. So then, yeah, put it on the list. I like it. And you're mentioning GME. You're saying short Friday's low. I would wait until Thursday's low, just because it's a tad, it's not that far off. But yeah, there's a sell setup. So Raul's giving me two to add to the list right now. Another bullish one. I noticed Oracle here had a nice gap breakout last week, and that is bullish price action after gapping over that ugly red bar. Now it's gapping up even more, which is kind of eating into my potential target. But I think it can go to 125, so that's a long watch. A number of these little stocks here I noticed that are moving today. 115 on Verb. That's a big gap, so no interest. Mage broke out last week. I love closing breakouts like this with the flat 20 and 50. So I'll watch that on a pullback. GDC trades very wildly, but it's moving today to the upside. Wow, back to 4. It's gapping over 4 bars highs, so that's big. I would never swing this, but it could set up for a day trade. Let it calm down a little bit. This is in a death trend, but there was activity that's pre-market. We'll come back. Boyle is levered natural gas. This is a big old sideways trading range. But now looks like a gap breakdown. Ollie, I mentioned Gurur, another little penny stock. Now this one might 30-minute high. Because look at it's retested this support here. It's not going down. I'll put that on the other chart. Gurur, that must be in the animal sector. CHX, I had an up alarm go off here. This is just a strong resting here. It's a breakout. Oil sector. I see whenever I look at oil, I just immediately glance up at my 4 oil ETFs, and yeah, oil ETFs are all popping here this morning. Kroger low alarms going off right now. There's a closing breakdown. There you go. This I almost put this in the weekend letter, and I'm like, oh, let me just watch it this morning. But now that's gapping down, so I like that a lot. I got Oracle on the other chart. So this looks fantastic. Maybe 5, 10, 15-minute low time with the futures. Today is my Monday, first day of the trading week, which means I like waiting 10 minutes on Mondays, let things, wiggle around. Jose on YouTube, Alpha Uniform, gapping down. It'd be a nice call spread over last week's high if there's any premium. I'm just not sure about the target, Jose. But you gotta, it is a gap breakdown. You see buyers kind of defending the gap down here. Maybe 30-minute low. An FMC short, yeah, here's a 1, 2, 3. That was not in our 1, 2, 3 scan because I sure looked. Yeah, that looks great, and it's gapping down. All right. Holly is kind of gapping too much, so I'll put FMC there. Yeah, I noticed Lima, India had a gap down here. Yeah, this could call spread. Neo, we actually bought a half lot, nice turn here with a big downside shakeout. But yeah, it looks like it's down, like you said, with the sector. Tesla's flat. GPC. Strong move. Oh, GPS, I was gonna say. Typo. Yeah, but I don't know what to do. It's gonna be a while before that sets up. All right, let's see what else I have here in the watch list. Elon, just bullish consolidation, bullish weekly. 30-minute high is an idea. A TCOM, I think, had earnings. Yeah, up and down, that could be a call spread. BDC, I think got an upgrade, which is retarded timing, in my opinion. Like, why do you wait for it to be up 20 days in a row before you to upgrade it? Manu, the Glacier, yeah, BX, I got right up here. I got added to an index. Now this would have been a beautiful breakout trade, but they've had themselves on the sales block for a while, and I think I read something. The Glacier family decided to take its for sale sign down. I didn't know the Glaciers own this. My firm used to represent the Glaciers when they bought the Buccaneers in the many years ago. But now that's a call spread idea. Yeah, I got Bravo X-ray right here. 108. Yeah. I love gapping over red bars, as you know. I don't know, not as crazy about them when they're far from the 20, but yeah, that got added to an index. RBC. It's great. It's bullish daily, weekly, monthly, but that looks like a short-term exhaustion gap. Pizza Hut got an upgrade, and they might have been added to some index also. All right, so if it is gapping at 396, so there's if it is gapping up here, then that's gapping over a red bar. Sloppy buy setup weekly. This could be a put spread idea. Airbnb we looked at. Mick alarm. That was a 1, 2, 3 alarm. So this looks fantastic. Target, I wish it had a bigger target, and I would have put it in the letter, but I definitely had it marked here as a day trade idea. I just don't trade in the first 5 minutes, but I like highlighting my tier 1 setups, and so that looks great. Look at Kroger here, looks great, and it's a judgment call how aggressive you want to be on entering. But it looks fantastic. Stop on Friday's high. Kroger looks great. FMC bottom right. Looks great. Gap breakdown from 1, 2, 3. FMC looks great. ENVX alarm. What's the bottoming pattern? I'm going to set a new alarm, 1432. Maybe ideally 30-minute high. Let it slop around for a bit. 1432. But yeah, FMC here and Royal Caribbean alarm. And let me check a call spread to start. Yeah, let's look at CCL, RCL. My alarm went off. FMC. 10 cents by $3. Friggin' jerk. Whiskey up alarm. Yeah, it's bullish daily, weekly, monthly. I was hoping to pull in a little bit, maybe give us a higher low, but that's nice multiple time frame alignment. RCL. Yeah, RCL looks lower. Yeah, I like them both. Like them both. Kroger is working. Car had an up alarm followed by a down alarm. All right, so our stop, I was in trail mode. All right, so let's take our money. TEL, TEL, we're in a trail mode also. I've been keeping tight stops, protecting our gains. All right, car, we're out of the 55 calls and a nice profit. 55, so 285 is our exit. ATLT over high of day, you're buying that? Up multiple bars far from the 20. All right, I'm getting a number of low alarms here. I know, but where's your stop? And does the broader market support it? All right. All right, till we stopped out. We've been on trail mode on these longs. AC, low alarm. Car 292, we got a nice gain. Sam, you're dropped down. I thought they'd fix that thing. RHI low alarm. We're not in that one, so I don't know why. It must be a short watch. $32.84. RHI. Oh yeah, RHI. Yeah, this one I had up and down alarms. I didn't know which way this was going to crack. But it looks like it's cracking to the downside now. Yeah, my alarm just went off. RSG. Yeah, that's a nice 1, 2, 3. All right, RHI, let's watch this. Yeah, our RSG triggered. All right, the Qs are holding, the other three are weak. So yeah, I say let me short this RHI. I mean, the only, you got some levels. It's a better call spread, but I looked and there was not good juice.